Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. This is take 2. I started this video about a half hour ago and got to the point where I was taking the cellophane off of the cards, and when I did, these were all stuck together, so I could not let all of you watch me unglued. I mean, I'm telling you, it seemed like they were glued, so I stopped the video. So this is part 2, but I did want to open them up with you, share the excitement of this new deck. Now, I have bought the book and the deck together, but did not take the deck apart, but have been studying this book for, approximately 2 weeks on and off, getting a background so that I could share the information with you because it is a little bit different. It's fascinating. It's a little bit different. Here is before I get carried away, there is this little white book. There's 39 pages. I looked very quickly through it, and the descriptions are not bad for a little white book. These cards are made by the U.S. Game Systems. I will go on and give you a little bit more background of when they were created. Julia A. Turk is the creator of this deck. She is also an artist because the picture on the back of the cards is the Tree of Life, which she is the artist of. That way they are not reversible cards. There is poetry that she writes in the book, and this is on the plate card that comes with the deck. It's a beautiful poetry. It talks about what the Navigator is all about. The Navigator is going to be you as you venture into the uncharted water of the mystic sea and what you discover. So her original deck came out back in 1997. This book is the new revised edition, specifically by Julia Turk. It is now color plated. The original one, which came out I think a year after the initial deck, was the gray slate scale that we often see in books. This is the new deck, 2007. And the artist and author of the Navigators Tarot has a little interesting background when it comes to the sea, because she did work the yacht charter industry for many, many years. She was also skippering long sailing vessels, and then in the end was able to cross the Atlantic. So there is a history of the sea, the ocean, and how that really does change your life. Then in 1988, there was a devastating car accident from which she escaped unharmed. In her words, she calls it unfathomable grace that had happened. So in the process of what had occurred, how her life was spared, this catastrophic accident, she asked the universe what might be offered in return. Of course, she didn't get an immediate answer. The story goes that after a while, there was consecutive events that were happening in her life. There was synchronicity. Her dream state was open, very vivid, and she was also having visions. In the end, she concluded that it was clear there was a message in all of this, and it ended up to be to go ahead and amend the versions of the traditional tarot deck. Now, talk about a tall order. Someone saying, we want you to redo the existing traditional tarot and revision the full meaning of the tarot now. So that is, let's say, the impetus in which she went about in her poetry, in her visions, and in her creation of this unique deck, why these pictures were formed. Okay, some similarities. It is certainly based on the Golden Dawn foundation of the Hermetic Kabbalah. She makes it perfectly clear that the Hermetic Kabbalah is spelled C-A-L-A-L-A. There's 3 ways to spell the Kabbalah. Her reasons for this, she said, is because it has its roots in the Jewish Kabbalah, which is the basis for the spiritual wisdom of Israel. From that, she says, is where the mystic nature of Judaism became the roots of the Western esoteric traditions. Now, the Western esoteric traditions, we all know one of them that stemmed from that is the Golden Dawn, which Aleister Crowley belonged to as well. And there's some similarities there. In fact, when I looked at these cards, I really thought of the artist Frida Harris in the Thaw deck. The flow, the color, some of the symbolism, but I could see that. When you dig a little deeper, you also know that where the Western Hermetic tradition came from is from the Greek god Hermes Trismegistus. And the Greek god is also connected to the Egyptian god Thoth. From all this is where the Hermetic order got alchemy, astrology, symbolism, magic, and that is all a blend of what is in these beautiful cards. So, there are some revisions. Before I go ahead and go through all these cards, I want to talk about what I found are the revisions specifically for you that are fascinating. I'm going to get up here and make sure you can see this on your monitor. Okay, the Tree of Life, which of course this is all based on. First of all, the order of the Hebrew letters were changed if the version of how the major arcanas were going to be placed. So that revision goes hand in hand. Instead of me giving you the placement of all of the major arcanas, you are looking at the traditional placement that is kind of mainstream of where the major arcanas are. And then, of course, you have Julia's placement of the major arcanas. There are going to be 6 that are changed, and that are 6 that remain the same. It's a lot easier than me doing all the ones that are have been put in different paths and sephiras. Okay, so the 6 that remain the same of the major arcana are going to be the universe, it's going to be the moon, it's going to be art, which of course is temperance, that stays the same. The Wheel of Fortune stays the same. The Emperor stays the same, and the Fool stay the same. Those are the 6 major arcanas that stay the same. All the other ones have moved. Why have they been moved? 2 reasons. For the book that she has written and the version and the system that she goes by has to do with the Jungian method of individuation, that the major arcanas are following the Jungian philosophy. Now, this is up for conjecture because I know that we have the traditional placement of the major arcana, and there are other authors and systems that also commingle and don't follow the traditional. The second reason for Julia Turk to change the system, go with the Jungian system, she says that she also was inspired or heard, or it was brought to her attention that the current system was incorrect, with the suspicion that someone had switched them in order for for the major arcanas, lack of a better word, to be understood properly. So there's a suspicion here that in the past, and she goes to the distant past, that they were switched around in order to hide esoteric messages that the major arcana bring when they are in this manner on the tree of life. Okay, now there continue here. The second change that we are seeing is that we begin the tree of life at the bottom. Okay, so we begin here in the universe. Let me see if I can put this here. It'll stay instead of me fighting it. There we go. So the conventional way is we start at Kether and work our way down. The card system is reversed here. There is a inversion. She says that we begin in Malkut. Friends, this works with me. With the Aquarius age and the influence of the chakra that is now been corresponding to the age of Aquarius, which is in Malkut, the root chakra. This works for me, and I'm discovering a little bit more. I know some of you are going to have to digest it, but she says that the quadrant is now starting at the where he is on Earth, and he is going to work his way up and evolve, and she calls these ports the quest to go through the 32 paths. As you learn, there is an area where she calls the bar, where you now leave the mundane world of the five senses, and then you get into the mystical sea area, where now you're discovering the unconscious, and ultimately it's to know thyself, to rediscover who you are, starting at the bottom up. Now she calls this the way to return. And what's fascinating is it doesn't end there, which is why the Fool has always been the connection of, well, in the traditional, let me correct that now. Traditionally, when you study the Tree of Life, the Fool is from Kether to Hakmah. That remains the same for the Navigators Tarot of the Mystic Sea, but it also is from, because you are now going to go into Hakmah, then into Keter. So these two are intertwined. They work both ways, where traditionally it wasn't. Because now you are also, you have the way of return, and then she calls it, when the Fool decides to come back, it's called the way of the future. So it's a fascinating way to work the Tree of Life, certainly different from the way that we were taught here in the Tree of Life traditionally. Okay, now there are some other nuances that I want to talk about. She also changes the way that she looks at the numerology, and I'm sorry about my voice. I don't know, I think it's too much talking, probably too much talking before, and where I've been and doing for the last couple days. She also talks about the major arcanas and does not number them because of the way that they flow and because of the way that they follow the 32 paths, and how your own self-discovery and choices will influence which ones of the archetypes you are learning, you are processing. In her poetry, she talks about the idea of karma, that we're coming back with karma, and through that karma, we are tied to it, but we are also making our way through karma by our choices every day. So we work on that in our in our evolution through the archetypes and through the sephiras on the tree of life. So the cards are unnumbered, and then the other thing is that she looks at the four suits a little differently. The pentacles are the least important. They do relate to earth. All of them, the suits relate to the same elements. But the pentacles, she contributes it as the physical body. In the book, she calls it, that's your boat. That's your boat. Your body is going to be how you get to all of the ports, the sephiras, and learn. Talks about a paddle. Well, that's your air. That's your decision. That's the suit of swords. That's number 2 in importance. Number 3 is the cups. Yes, it has to do with the emotional nature. More importantly, she stresses that that is your unconscious world. That's your solar plex. That's where it all lies. That's where the gifts are. And the most important suit is, of course, the 4th and last fire, which is the wands, and that is your higher self and navigating with your higher self. The numbering system is also reversed. 10 is of the least powerful. Ace is of the most power. I resonate with that because we know that when you study the tree of life, the aces are in Kether. So that is something to consider as I now go about showing you these cards that are very eclectic, space age. Again, remember it was for the new millennium, and here is our Fool. Oh, one more thing. She says that she gives the major arcana one word, which we see here, emanation, and that is the essence of the meaning of the card. That you can meditate on and see what that brings you, okay? So each card is going to have one main word. So here is the Fool. Eon traditionally is known as judgment in the Rider-Waite, but Eon in the Aleister Crowley, realization. And you will see that the figures have different skin colors. We got gray, we got orange, blue, brown. The Archpriestess is the High Priestess, the Magician, the Sun, which is organization. I'm wondering if they're still stuck. The Moon, the Star, 6-pointed star, Devil, Art, which is Temperance, the Universe. Now remember, we are going backwards, so even though the Universe is numbered 21 traditionally, we're starting with the Universe in Malkut. That's the beginning for us. The end is through the Magician and then back to Spirit, the Fool card. Death. Transformation seems to be universally understood here. Suspicion. Destiny. Hermit. Strength. Chariot. The Lover's card, if you really look at it, is fascinating. I do want to say that the Pip cards, the minor arcana, are non-gender, but the major arcana are certainly male and female. Of course, we have the archetypes, we have that energy, and you can see here with the Lovers, the female going through her regular cycle of womanhood, and the male above her. The mirror, it looks like. I can't wait to get into the meditation, which definitely the author and creator recommends that this is how the cards are understood. Hierophant. Very eclectic, space age. You also see things in the air, which adds to fluidity, how everything is in constant flux. Nothing is permanent. Everything is in change. And you can do that by your thoughts, your actions, your intentions. Okay, the Empress. We are getting to the Ten of Pentacles. Now remember, these are the less powerful from the highers to the lowers. So we have the Ten of Pentacles. So we change from skin tone. In the Nine of Pentacles, we seem to have a gray tone. And of course, the body and the symbols that the body seem to portray, I think, are important. Even though I haven't delved into that in the book, I was really more interested in the background, how the deck was created, the symbology, and certainly what the changes were in the Tree of Life. The Eight of Pentacles. They're almost robotic, you know, when we think about AI technology. Boy, this all fits in. And to think that she first created this in 1997. The rooms, uncluttered. You get the idea that you have four walls. What do you do with those four walls? The box. Now the Three of Pentacles is what's on the back of the box right here. And I kind of see a new age, someone working on a computer in a very modernized desk setting. And I just see the One Pentacle and the Two Pentacles, but the thought process there. And the whirling colors spiraling in the background. So we're getting into more power as the numbers decrease. And you do kind of see more fluidity, action. And then the highest of the suits are all the aces. And the individual is not holding the pentacle. Is that saying that don't be tied to your body or your possessions? The Page of Pentacles, I do want to say the court cards are also somewhat changed in how she grades them. The pages are the neophytes, the beginners. The knights are the adepts in the suit. And the queen and of course the king have sovereign over their kingdoms. And she holds a large pentacle. Same direction as the king. All right, we begin with the Ace of Cups. And there is something being manifested out of that cup. The Two of Cups. Three of Cups. The Five of Cups looks to be submerged. A 7. The 8 seems to be gazing at an image, maybe the past. Yeah, the 8. Nine of Cups. The 10 of Cups has 2 people. Accomplishments. Page of Cups. You see a lot of blue in the cups, probably representing the emotions and the water element. Ace of Wands, the highest of the 4 suits that Julia Turk declares in her book, in her writing, in her use of the cards. The 2, the 3, and I see a combinations of colors, not one specifically so far. It's the first time I see a horse in a regular pip card, I believe. Okay, we're getting into the 10 of Wands, the less influential. Page of Wands. Moving forward, the Knight is the Adept, and he seems to be going in the same direction. The Queen of Wands, so she would be of the Court card the most powerful. Regeneration is the key word. King of Wands. Ace of Swords. Our thinking suit, 2 of Swords, almost really, well, 3 of Swords. 4 of Swords seems like someone's giving assistance. 5 of Swords, opposite. 6 of Swords. 7. 8. 9. Oh, the 10 of Swords. Not one person, but 2. Or is that a past memory? I'm not sure. Page of Swords. 8 of Swords. Queen of Swords. And the King of Swords. All right, now the other thing that I also would like to bring to your attention is how astrologically there have been some changes. The Fool, traditionally, it corresponds to the planet Uranus. Here, she contributes Pluto. Eon, I think Judgment traditionally was Pluto. Here, I think it's Mercury, if my memory serves me right. And I think that was it. Again, I'm only oh, no, 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 no. I think that is, no, the universe. Let me see if I have putting it in my notes anywhere. The Fool, Eon. And let's see if I can remember. Oh, I think it was the Magician. The Magician, yes, because of the Neptune. Okay, so the Magician, traditionally we know, was Mercury. She gives it Uranus. So there is some changes here. The Fool used to be Uranus. She gives it Pluto. The Magician used to be Mercury. She gives it Uranus. And Eon, of course, is Judgment. We used to, well, the traditional cards, I shouldn't say we used to, gave it Pluto. She gives it Mercury. So that is a change astrologically. Now, I was fascinated by another thing that I discovered that I wanted to share with you. I was fascinated why Julia Turk decided to capitalize the mystic, but the word C. So I got online and I looked and I looked and I couldn't find anything until finally I came to, it's almost like a thread because you're looking and you're looking. You know, there was lots of information on this author and what she did, but on Benny E. Bell Wynn thread, I got on and I went ahead and I copied it for you. Come to find out, the Navigators Tarot of the Mystic Sea was an ancient society, and it was called the Mystic Society of Enochian Anchorites. Okay, so there it is, Society C, Enochian E, Anchorites. So it's an acronym. Now this is nowhere in the book. I don't see where Julia Turk says that in her writings anywhere else in commentaries. This is strictly speculation. When you look into what the society held, Enochian, well, we know that there was certainly magic having to do with the Enochians. The practice of the Enochian magic was by Aleister Crowley. There's a book out. I never got it, but there's certainly a book out that connects it. Now, the important part of this acronym, SEA, is the word, the key that really opened it up as I continued the thread and the research, is that an anchorite is an individual that goes into seclusion, basically one room, for the purpose of self-discovery, all of their life, monastic life. And it was based in, I believe, Christianity in the beginning. Anchorites are the male, and anchorites are the females, anchorites are the males. And that society, I don't believe, is still into existence, but I found it to be fascinating when it came to the magic of Enochian magic, the symbolism of all of that part of the mystical works of the Hermetic order and the society, the secrets. Okay, and then I also wanted to share with you one last thing. Bear with me. I don't know if any of you have read the books by Gail Fairfield. She has 2 out now. I got this Choice Centered Tarot. Oh my gosh, let me see when her book came out. In the 80s, I believe, 1984? Yeah, 1984, I got her book. And then she had a second book, Choice Centered Relating and the Tarot. Of course, I love this book. I loved her first book. I got it. I never got her choice-centered astrology book. What I'm alluding to here, friends, is when I read her book, I immediately began working and teaching the system of numerology that she uses for the minor arcana, especially in the way that it has a continuization of energy and vibration and how it relates to the pip cards, the suit cards. I use that. Now, as you discover Gail's work, her system, I did find like there was a strong correlation with the imagery, the connection to the Kabbalah, the theory of the archetypes, the psychology of Jungian way of individualization and self-identity, all kind of blended beautifully. So if you like Gail Fairfield's work, I think you're going to be fascinated. It expands it even more with the Navigators Tarot of the Mystic Sea. I don't recommend this deck for beginners, certainly. It is complicated. The pictures are very futuristic. They're not traditional. They're not mainstream. But you know what I think, friends? I think it gets us out of our comfort zone and the rut that maybe we've all fallen into with the traditional tarot and the symbology. And it gives us a impetus, if you will, to jumpstart us into this new age, the eclectic age of the Aquarius age, and where Pluto is going to take us. He's going to be in Aquarius for the next 20 years. How did I want to end this? Definitely, this is a deck for self-discovery, to find who you are. And it is a work of love, because as you navigate, your paddle, remember, has to do with your mind. She also contributes it to your ego. Your paddle may get you into areas on the tree of life that get you stuck. It becomes your harbor, it becomes a part of you that is self-defeating. These are just analogies that I'm throwing out there. But there's this journey to ascend from the bottom up, and you are the navigator in the mystical sea. Now remember, well, I shouldn't say remember, but also in the description, there is a part when you are traveling up the tree of life where you cross what she calls a bar, where you leave the mundane world and then you really get into the mystic sea. And it's the undercurrents, the challenges, the obstacles, the unconscious that brings it, the mystic sea brings up in you and in your visions, that will be the gifts, let's say the shadow, that you need to see, that helps you finally ascend into the areas of the tree of life that we all want to achieve, and certainly that is Kether. But that is the unknown. That is the unknown part that we individually discover. All right, everyone, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you for your patience. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Bye for now.